We are the architects of our own thoughts, the creators of the narratives we live by. Every moment we breathe, we have the power to choose which voices we listen to. Yet, too often, we allow the whisper of self-doubt and the sting of negative self-talk to shape our reality. It is time to recognize the truth. These thoughts are not the essence of who we are. They are fleeting shadows, born from fear, insecurity, and past wounds. To master our minds, we must learn to silence these distractions, to confront the lies that hold us captive, and to replace them with the truths that align with our purpose. The path to freedom begins not in the world around us, but within. It is time to destroy the lies we tell ourselves, and in doing so, we shall become the warriors of our own peace. The invisible chains, how negative self-talk holds us back. The greatest prison we face is not built with iron or stone, but with the very thoughts we allow to dominate our minds. These thoughts, often unchallenged and unnoticed, have the power to bind us more tightly than any physical restraint. Negative self-talk is like an unseen force that wraps around our minds, feeding us lies we often accept as truth. It whispers that we are not good enough, that we are failures in the making, that we are undeserving of success, love, or peace. But the truth is this: we are not our thoughts. Thoughts are merely the fleeting reflections of the mind, not the essence of who we are. Yet, we allow them to shape our identities. We internalize them, give them weight, and like a prisoner who has grown accustomed to his chains, we believe we cannot escape. Consider for a moment how often you've said to yourself, "I'm not capable," "I'll never succeed," or "I'm not worthy of happiness." These words are not fact. They are the product of fear, of comparison, of doubts seeded in the past by others or by our own experiences. Yet, when we entertain these thoughts, we give them power. We feed them, nourish them, and let them dictate our behavior. We walk through life with these chains of self-doubt, blind to the fact that they are self-imposed. The first step to freeing ourselves from this invisible prison is to acknowledge it. We must come face to face with the negative thoughts that plague us, not to dwell on them, but to recognize them for what they truly are, not truths, but mere illusions. We must stop identifying with these thoughts and instead view them as passing clouds in the vast sky of our minds. They may come, but they do not define us. It is essential to understand that negative self-talk is not a reflection of who we are. It is a reflection of the struggles we've faced, the wounds we carry, and the fears we've yet to face. The moment we stop letting these thoughts dictate our worth is the moment we begin to take back control of our lives. This isn't an easy task. It requires awareness, patience, and most importantly, courage. We must ask ourselves, what would our lives look like if we let go of these chains? What would we do? How would we live if we freed ourselves from the relentless grip of self-criticism and doubt? This is not some distant dream. This is a reality we can create by choosing to see ourselves clearly, without distortion, without fear, without limitation. The journey to freedom starts by understanding that we are not our negative thoughts. We are the creators of our own story. When we begin to challenge the lies, when we start seeing ourselves as worthy, capable, and powerful, we begin to break the chains that bind us. We are not prisoners, we are warriors, and the battle for our minds begins with the simple act of questioning the chains we've worn for too long. The power of the mind. Understanding your inner voice. Your mind is not a passive receiver, but an active creator. It is the lens through which you interpret the world, and it shapes every experience you encounter. The inner voice, the one that constantly speaks to you, carries immense power. It has the potential to either elevate you or diminish you, to open doors or to keep them firmly shut. The words you tell yourself are not mere background noise. They are the foundation of your reality. From the moment we wake up, our inner voice begins its work. It might be a soft whisper at first, nudging us with a thought or an idea. But over time, if left unchecked, it grows louder and more forceful, taking root in the deepest corners of our consciousness. And in this process, we begin to believe that the voice we hear is the ultimate truth, that the self-doubt, the criticism, and the negativity are simply parts of who we are. But here's the truth. That inner voice is not the ultimate authority. It is not the voice of wisdom, nor is it the voice of reality. It is merely a reflection of our past experiences, our fears, our insecurities, and the narratives we've absorbed throughout our lives. It speaks not of our true potential, but of the limitations we've unknowingly placed upon ourselves. To truly understand the power of the mind, we must first learn to separate the truth from the noise. We must recognize that just because a thought enters our mind doesn't make it true. Every single thought is a creation, a product of our subconscious, and not all of them are worthy of our attention or belief. The power lies in our ability to observe these thoughts, to notice when they are negative or self-limiting, and to choose not to accept them as fact. Consider how often you've said to yourself, "I can't do this, I'm not good enough," or "this is too hard." These thoughts are not based on any inherent truth. They are merely reactions to fear, to the uncertainty of what lies ahead. They are voices that seek to protect us, but in doing so, they hold us back from realizing our full potential. To acknowledge this power is to begin the process of liberation. We must realize that our minds are not enemies. They are allies waiting to be awakened. But in order for that awakening to occur, we must stop giving unchecked power to every fleeting thought that arises. The key to controlling the power of the mind is awareness. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we can observe the thoughts that pass through our consciousness without identifying with them. This is not a process of suppression, but rather one of observation. We must begin to question each thought, each self-limiting belief. Is this thought serving me? Is it helping me grow? Is it true? Or is it simply a remnant of past wounds and fears? When you learn to become the observer of your mind, rather than its servant, you gain the power to change the narrative. You can replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations. But more importantly, you can begin to reframe the way you see yourself and the world around you. Your inner voice is not set in stone. It is malleable, like clay in the hands of a sculptor. With intention, with awareness, and with practice, you can reshape it into something that empowers you rather than diminishes you. Understand this: your thoughts are not the truth. They are merely passing clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. You have the power to choose which ones to nurture and which ones to let drift away. The strength of your mind lies not in the thoughts you think, but in your ability to see them for what they are and decide whether they are worthy of your belief. Only then can you begin to master your mind and harness its true power. Breaking the habit, reprogramming thoughts that undermine you. We are creatures of habit. Our lives in many ways are dictated by the automatic patterns that repeat in our minds and actions. From the moment we wake up until the moment we rest our heads at night, We follow a routine built on both conscious decisions and unconscious habits. Unfortunately, negative self-talk is one of the most insidious habits we carry, and it undermines our potential in ways we often fail to notice. The voice inside your head that says, "You're not good enough," "You'll never succeed," or "What's the point?" is not a momentary thought. It's a habit. Like any habit, it has taken root through repetition. Each time we listen to it and believe it, we strengthen its power. We feed it, nurture it, and allow it to dictate the course of our lives. The key to breaking this destructive cycle is not in battling the thoughts directly, but in transforming the habit of allowing them to control us. Reprogramming our thoughts requires conscious effort. It begins with a simple but profound truth: awareness precedes change. If we do not become aware of the thoughts that undermine us, we cannot begin to change them. To break this habit, we must first recognize the frequency with which these negative thoughts arise. How often do you catch yourself doubting your ability? How often do you speak to yourself in a manner you would never speak to another person? These thoughts are not only untrue, they are habits we've developed over time, born out of fear, comparison, or past failures. Breaking the habit of negative self-talk demands a shift in our mindset. Instead of succumbing to the automatic cycle of self-criticism, we must replace it with a new pattern, one that empowers us, one that speaks to our potential and capability. This shift is not something that happens overnight. It is a process, a gradual reconditioning of the mind. But every step forward, no matter how small, weakens the grip of the old narrative. The first step in reprogramming negative thoughts is to stop accepting them as truth. When a self-limiting thought arises, whether it's about your worth, your abilities, or your future, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge the thought, but do not accept it. Challenge it. Ask yourself, is this thought rooted in reality, or is it a reflection of fear and insecurity? More often than not, you will find that these thoughts are rooted in nothing more than outdated beliefs or unchallenged assumptions about yourself. The next step is to replace these thoughts with positive, affirming ones. But this is not about mere wishful thinking. Reprogramming the mind requires the understanding that you are capable of growth, that you have the strength to overcome challenges, and that your past does not dictate your future. Each time you challenge a negative thought and replace it with one that is empowering, you are creating a new habit, one that gradually rewires your mind for success. It is important to remember that breaking this habit is a practice. It will take time. You will not always catch every negative thought, and there will be moments when you stumble. But the key is to never stop trying. Each time you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk and choose to change it, you are taking control of your mind. You are choosing to no longer be a passive recipient of harmful thoughts, but an active creator of the thoughts that serve you. As you continue this practice, the negative thoughts will begin to lose their power. They will no longer hold the same weight over you. Instead of being overwhelmed by them, you will recognize them for what they are, old habits that no longer serve you. And as you create new, positive thought patterns, you will find that your actions begin to reflect this new way of thinking. You will act with confidence, with courage, and with the deep knowing that you are capable of anything you set your mind to. Breaking the habit of negative self-talk is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about consistently choosing a mindset that nurtures your growth. empowers your potential, and celebrates your worth. With time, this new habit will become second nature. The chains of self-doubt that once bound you will slowly break away, and you will stand in the freedom of knowing that you are the master of your mind. And when you are the master of your mind, you are free to achieve all that you are capable of. The first step: acknowledging the voice inside. The most powerful step in reshaping our mindset is one that seems deceptively simple: acknowledgement. Before we can confront the negative self-talk that holds us back, we must first recognize its existence. The voice that criticizes, doubts, and undermines us is often so deeply ingrained in our daily lives that we no longer even question it. It becomes a part of the background noise, and we accept it as an inevitable truth. But the first step to breaking free from its grip is to bring it into the light, to observe it without judgment, and to recognize that it does not define us. Acknowledge the voice, but do not identify with it. Understand that the thoughts you hear are not your essence. They are merely passing visitors in the landscape of your mind. The voice of doubt, fear, and self-criticism is not who you are. It is the residue of past experiences, fears yet to be confronted, and wounds yet to be healed. By simply recognizing that this voice is not you, you create the distance necessary to disarm it. It's important to realize that these thoughts are not universal truths. They are simply habitual patterns, conditioned by life's circumstances, shaped by failures, disappointments, or even the words of others. They are a reflection of the past, not a prophecy of the future. When you acknowledge this, you take the first step toward reclaiming control over your inner world. You become the observer rather than the subject of these thoughts. This acknowledgement is not a passive acceptance of the voice, nor is it a resignation to the negativity. It is an act of awareness, of mindfulness, and of choice. You are choosing to hear the thoughts, to see them for what they are, and to recognize that you are not obligated to follow their lead. The power is in your hands to allow them to pass by, like clouds drifting across the sky. The moment you acknowledge them, you release their power over you. To acknowledge the voice inside is also to recognize that this voice has been shaped by circumstances beyond your control. You did not choose to carry these thoughts, and you are not obligated to continue holding on to them. They are not your birthright. They are learned patterns of thought, and like any learned behavior, they can be unlearned. This is where true freedom begins, when we can look at our negative self-talk not as a permanent condition, but as a fleeting pattern that can be replaced. Acknowledging the voice allows you to confront it head-on, without fear or shame. You do not need to suppress it, and you do not need to fight against it. Simply acknowledge its presence, and in doing so, you create the space needed for transformation. In this process of acknowledgement, we are not seeking to eliminate the voice altogether. It will never be completely silenced, for the mind is a dynamic force, ever in motion. What we are after is control. Control over how much weight we give it, control over whether we allow it to dictate our actions, and control over whether we let it determine our worth. The first step is simply to hear it, to recognize it as it speaks, and to gently remind ourselves that we are the ones who choose how we respond. This is the foundation upon which all change is built. The voice inside may never disappear entirely, but when we acknowledge it, we reclaim the power to move beyond it. When we understand that it is merely a reflection of fear and uncertainty, we begin the journey toward a life defined not by self-doubt, but by self-mastery. So, take a moment today to listen. Acknowledge the thoughts that have been shaping your reality for so long. Recognize them, but do not accept them as your truth. With this simple yet profound act, you have taken the first step toward rewiring your mindset and reclaiming your life. Questioning the lies, dissecting the negative narratives. We live in a world where stories shape everything. How we view ourselves, how we perceive others, and how we interact with the world around us. But what happens when the stories we tell ourselves are built on lies? What happens when the narratives that govern our thoughts and actions are founded in fear, insecurity, and past pain? The result is a life lived in the shadow of false beliefs, never reaching its full potential, forever restricted by the invisible chains of self-doubt. The most insidious part of negative self-talk is that it often masquerades as truth. The voice inside us does not just speak, it convinces us, slowly and subtly, that its words are the foundation of reality. You're not good enough, you'll never succeed. What's the point in trying? These are not objective truths. They are the lies we've come to believe. And the moment we accept them as truth is the moment we begin to limit ourselves. To break free from the hold these lies have over us, we must first begin to question them. We must approach these negative narratives with curiosity and skepticism, refusing to accept them without scrutiny. When a thought arises that suggests we are less than, unworthy, or incapable, we must ask ourselves, is this thought truly grounded in fact, or is it a distorted narrative born from fear and past experiences? Consider the lie that tells you, "I am not good enough." Where did that come from? Is it based on a single failure, a harsh comment, or perhaps a childhood memory that lingers? Is it a universal truth, or is it merely a fragmented perception that has taken root in your mind? To question the lies is to challenge the very foundation upon which they stand, and in doing so, we begin to dismantle them brick by brick. The truth is, we often hold ourselves to standards that no one else would dare impose. We are our own harshest critics, punishing ourselves for every mistake, every misstep, as though they define us. But these narratives are not inherent to our being. They are learned patterns, reinforced by past pain, by comparison, and by the opinions of others. We've been conditioned to see ourselves through the lens of imperfection, when in reality, imperfection is not our flaw, it is our humanity. When we dissect the negative narratives that dominate our minds, we begin to uncover the deeper truths that lie beneath. What is it that we truly believe about ourselves? What are the stories we've been telling ourselves for years? Are they serving us, or are they limiting us? This is where the power of questioning lies. By challenging the stories that define our self-worth, we begin to rewrite them, moving from a narrative of defeat to one of possibility. Take, for example, the thought, "I will never be successful." What evidence does this thought have to stand on? Have you truly never succeeded? Or have you simply faced setbacks that you've internalized as failure? Success is not a one-time event. It is a journey full of learning, growth, and resilience. To accept the idea that you are incapable of success is to deny the countless small victories you've already achieved. By questioning this lie, you open the door to new perspectives, to a narrative of growth rather than stagnation. The act of questioning is not about denying our struggles or pretending that we are perfect. It is about acknowledging that the negative narratives we carry do not have to define us. It is about realizing that the thoughts that limit us are often based on outdated beliefs, fear, and insecurity, rather than the reality of who we are and what we are capable of. When we begin to question the lies, we start to see the cracks in their foundation. We recognize that they are not truths, but fabrications designed to keep us small. And as we challenge these stories, we begin to replace them with new ones that speak to our strength, our resilience, and our infinite potential. To question the lies is to free ourselves from the confines of self-doubt. It is the act of reclaiming our truth, of rewriting the narratives that no longer serve us. Every time you challenge a negative thought, every time you question a limiting belief, you take a step closer to the person you are meant to become. And with each step, the lies that once held you back begin to lose their power until they no longer have a place in the story of your life. The art of self-compassion, embracing your imperfections. In a world that constantly demands perfection, we often forget the most fundamental truth about being human. We are all imperfect, and that is okay. We are born into this world not as flawless beings, but as creatures capable of growth, change, and, most importantly, learning from our mistakes. Yet, how often do we treat ourselves with the harshness of a critic, overlooking the beauty of our imperfections and the lessons they carry? We hold ourselves to unattainable standards, constantly punishing ourselves for every shortcoming, every misstep. And in doing so, we deny ourselves the compassion and grace that we so readily extend to others. To truly rewire our mindset, we must first embrace the art of self-compassion. Compassion is not just reserved for others. It must first be practiced within. It is easy to extend kindness and understanding to a friend who has faltered, to offer encouragement to someone facing their struggles. But how often do we offer that same level of kindness to ourselves? How often do we treat ourselves with the same patience, understanding, and forgiveness that we would show someone we love? Self-compassion begins with the simple act of acknowledging that we, too, are deserving of love and understanding, especially in moments of failure or weakness. It is recognizing that we are not perfect, nor are we meant to be. Our flaws, our mistakes, and our imperfections are not markers of inadequacy. They are part of the very fabric that makes us human. In fact, it is through our struggles that we find our greatest strength. It is through our failures that we learn resilience. The wounds we carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof of our ability to heal, to grow, and to rise again. Embracing your imperfections means allowing yourself the space to fail without condemnation. It is giving yourself permission to not have all the answers, to make mistakes, and to stumble along the way. Self-compassion is the antidote to the relentless self-criticism that so many of us carry. It is the understanding that we are not defined by our failures, but by our ability to rise from them. Think of the way you speak to yourself in moments of disappointment. How often do you say, "I'm such a failure," or "I'll never get it right"? These words are not only unkind, they are untrue. Every mistake, every flaw, every imperfection is part of a larger journey. When we embrace our imperfections with compassion, we shift our perspective. Instead of seeing ourselves as failures, we begin to see ourselves as works in progress, ever evolving and ever growing. The practice of self-compassion is not about excusing bad behavior or letting ourselves off the hook for things we could have done better. It is about understanding that we are human, that mistakes are inevitable, and that we have the power to learn from them. It is about treating ourselves with the same kindness and patience we would offer to a dear friend. It is about recognizing that our worth is not determined by our achievements or our perfection, but by our willingness to embrace our full humanity, flaws and all. To cultivate self-compassion, start by becoming aware of your inner dialogue. Notice the harshness with which you speak to yourself and challenge it. When you make a mistake, instead of berating yourself, ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience?" Speak to yourself with kindness as you would to someone you deeply care about. Remind yourself that it is okay to be imperfect and that each step, whether forward or backward, is part of the journey. The more you practice self-compassion, the more you will realize that your imperfections are not a burden, but a gift. They are the building blocks of resilience, the markers of growth, and the path to a deeper understanding of yourself. By embracing your flaws with love and acceptance, you will begin to shed the weight of self-doubt and step into your full potential. Self-compassion is not just a practice, it is a way of life, a way of being that frees you from the chains of perfectionism and allows you to live authentically, embracing all that you are, shifting focus from what you can't control to what you can. One of the most profound shifts we can make in our lives is to focus not on what is outside our control, but on what lies within our power. Every day, we are bombarded by a world full of uncertainty. Politics, circumstances, the actions of others. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that we are at the mercy of the world around us, that we are powerless in the face of external forces. But to live a life of purpose, to free ourselves from the weight of negative self-talk, we must recognize this one simple truth. We are only ever in control of one thing: the way we respond. Negative self-talk often thrives on our fear of the unknown, our obsession with things beyond our control. When we focus on things we cannot change, whether it's the opinion of others, the outcome of a situation, or the challenges we face, we give them power over our thoughts, over our emotions, and ultimately over our lives. But when we focus on what we can control, we shift the narrative, we regain our power, and we become the masters of our own fate. The first step in this shift is to let go of the illusion of control. You cannot control what others think of you, nor can you dictate the events that unfold in your life. But you can control your response to them. You can choose how you interpret the circumstances around you. You can choose to see every challenge as an opportunity to grow rather than a threat to your well-being. You can choose to believe in your ability to rise above, no matter what obstacles may come your way. It's important to remember that the way we react to external events is always within our control. When things don't go according to plan, when setbacks occur, we can either allow ourselves to spiral into negativity or choose to rise above the situation with grace and resilience. The power lies not in what happens to us, but in how we respond to it. Consider the moments when you've been faced with adversity, perhaps a difficult situation at work, a personal struggle, or even an unexpected challenge in your relationships. In these moments, the natural instinct is to focus on what we cannot control, the other person's actions, the circumstances that seem beyond our influence, the unfairness of it all. But this focus only drains us of energy and fuels the negative self-talk that says, "I can't handle this," or "This is too much for me." But what if, instead of focusing on what you cannot change, you turned your attention inward? What if, instead of feeling helpless in the face of the situation, you focused on your own response? How can you choose to act with integrity, with calm, with resilience? How can you control your own thoughts, your own behavior, in a way that reflects the person you want to be? This is where true power lies. not in controlling the world around us, but in controlling ourselves within it. The moment we stop fighting against what we cannot change is the moment we reclaim our energy, our peace, and our clarity. We stop wasting time on worry, and instead, we direct our attention toward what we can influence. We focus on how we show up in the world, on how we respond to the challenges we face, and on how we move forward with intention. The second step is to embrace the present moment. Often, negative self-talk arises from our tendency to dwell on the past or worry about the future. We replay old mistakes in our minds, or we anticipate future failures, and in doing so, we lose sight of the only moment we have, right now. The present is where we have the most power, because it is the only moment where action is possible. When we stop dwelling on the past and stop worrying about the future, we free ourselves to take positive action in the present. Focus on what you can control today, what is within your power to change right now in this moment. How can you take small, intentional steps to move forward? By focusing on the present moment and the actions you can take today, you free yourself from the weight of negative thoughts and the burden of things beyond your control. When we shift our focus from what we can't control to what we can, we stop giving power to external forces. We reclaim our agency, our peace, and our resilience. And in doing so, we create a life where we are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, but where we are active participants in the unfolding of our own story. The world may be unpredictable, but within the chaos, we can choose to remain grounded, focused, and empowered. This shift is not a one-time event. It is a practice. Every day we have the opportunity to choose where to place our attention. Every day we can ask ourselves, what can I control today? What can I do right now that aligns with the person I want to become? And with each small choice, we break free from the chains of negativity and we begin to shape our lives with intention and purpose. Embracing discomfort. Growth lies beyond your comfort zone. There is a truth we must all face, though it is one we rarely like to hear. Growth, transformation, and progress lie beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone. It is only when we step into discomfort, when we embrace the unknown, that we unlock our fullest potential. Yet, how often do we shy away from discomfort? How often do we cling to the familiar, the safe, the predictable, in an attempt to shield ourselves from fear, uncertainty, and vulnerability? Negative self-talk thrives in the space of comfort, for it is in the familiar patterns of thought that we feel secure even when those patterns are limiting and harmful. The voice inside us tells us to stay within the lines, to avoid risks, to play it safe. It convinces us that stepping outside of our comfort zone is dangerous, that it will lead to failure, rejection, or pain. But the truth is, it is only through stepping into discomfort that we grow. It is only by pushing the boundaries of what we know that we can expand the limits of what we are capable of. Consider the moments in your life when you've experienced growth, when you've learned something new, achieved something you once thought impossible, or overcome a challenge that pushed you to your limits. In every one of those moments, there was discomfort, there was fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but there was also courage, resilience, and the strength to keep moving forward despite the discomfort. To embrace discomfort is to embrace growth. It is to acknowledge that the path to our goals, our dreams, and our highest potential is not a smooth one. It is a path filled with obstacles, challenges, and moments of doubt. But it is also a path filled with the potential for greatness. The discomfort we feel is not a sign that we are failing. It is a sign that we are stretching, evolving, and becoming more than we were before. This does not mean that discomfort should be sought for its own sake, or that we should put ourselves through unnecessary hardship. It means that we should no longer fear discomfort when it arises, but instead see it as a signal that we are on the right path. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is a teacher, a guide and a catalyst for change. When we face discomfort head-on, we strengthen our resilience. We build the mental and emotional muscles necessary to navigate the challenges of life with grace and determination. Think of discomfort as the forge in which your character is shaped. Just as steel must be heated, hammered, and shaped to become a sword, so too must we face discomfort in order to become the best versions of ourselves. The obstacles, failures, and struggles we face are not punishments. They are opportunities to refine our strength, to sharpen our resolve, and to clarify our purpose. It is only through the fire of discomfort that we can become the people we are meant to be. The key to embracing discomfort is not to force yourself into situations that are beyond your current capacity, but to meet challenges with an open heart and mind. When you feel fear or resistance, ask yourself, what am I avoiding? Why does this discomfort feel so threatening? Often, we fear discomfort because we believe it will break us. But discomfort does not break us. It reveals who we truly are. It shows us our limits, and it gives us the chance to transcend them. To embrace discomfort also means to embrace the unknown. We cannot control the future, nor can we predict every outcome. But we can control how we approach uncertainty. Rather than running from it, we can walk into it with courage, knowing that each step into the unknown is a step toward becoming a more resilient, more capable, more evolved version of ourselves. In every moment of discomfort, there is an invitation to rise, to stretch, to evolve. By facing discomfort, we free ourselves from the chains of fear, doubt, and limitation. We break free from the confines of the comfort zone and step into a world of possibility where our potential knows no bounds. So, the next time you feel the familiar tug of fear, hesitation, or discomfort, don't shy away. Don't retreat to the safety of old patterns. Instead, step forward with courage. Embrace the discomfort, for it is a sign that you are on the verge of growth. And in that moment, when you face discomfort and choose to move through it, you will find that the strength you seek was always within you. It was just waiting for you to take the first step. The power of gratitude, reframing your reality. In a world that is constantly moving forward, where success is often measured by what we have yet to achieve, we are too easily swept into the current of dissatisfaction. We look at what we don't have, at the things we haven't accomplished, and at the dreams that seem just out of reach. And in this relentless pursuit of more, we often forget to pause and reflect on what we already possess. The blessings, the experiences, the growth that has already shaped us. It is in this act of forgetting that negative self-talk thrives, whispering in our ears that we are not enough, that we haven't done enough, that we have nothing to be proud of. But the truth is, when we shift our perspective and embrace gratitude, we begin to see the abundance that already exists within our lives. Gratitude is not just about appreciating the big milestones or the grand achievements. It is about acknowledging the everyday moments, the small victories and the simple joys that often go unnoticed. When we make gratitude a daily practice, we rewire our mindset, transforming the lens through which we view the world and ourselves. The power of gratitude lies in its ability to shift our focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. When we choose to practice gratitude, we stop searching for external validation and begin to recognize our own worth, our own progress. We stop fixating on the future and start appreciating the present. Gratitude is the antidote to negativity because it forces us to see the good in our lives, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. Consider this. How often do you take a moment to reflect on the things you are grateful for? How often do you stop, amid the chaos of life, to appreciate the simple blessings? Good health, meaningful relationships, the ability to learn, the beauty of the world around you. Gratitude doesn't require grand gestures or monumental achievements. It is about finding beauty in the small things. It's in the warm cup of coffee on a cold morning, the quiet moments of peace in a busy day, or the laughter shared with a loved one. These are the moments that make life rich, and yet they are often overlooked in the rush to do more or be more. Gratitude is also a powerful tool in dismantling negative self-talk. When we focus on what we are thankful for, we shift our attention away from the self-critical thoughts that keep us stuck in a cycle of inadequacy. Negative self-talk thrives on a lack of appreciation for who we are and what we've accomplished. It tells us that we are not enough, that we haven't done enough, that we're failing in some way. But when we actively practice gratitude, we drown out these voices by focusing on the positive, on the things we have achieved, and on the ways we have grown. Start by acknowledging the small things. Each day, take a moment to list at least 3 things you are grateful for. These can be simple things: your morning routine, the support of a friend, the ability to move through your day with purpose. The key is to be intentional, to focus on the present, and to train your mind to notice the abundance around you. When you make this a habit, you begin to see the world and yourself through a lens of positivity and appreciation. Gratitude also fosters resilience. When we face challenges or setbacks, it is easy to become overwhelmed by the weight of what's wrong. Negative self-talk can spiral, telling us that we are incapable, that we will never overcome the obstacle in front of us. But gratitude helps us reframe the situation. When we focus on what we are grateful for, we tap into a deeper well of strength. We recognize that, even in the face of difficulty, there is much to be thankful for, and this shift in perspective fuels our resilience, allowing us to face adversity with a clear mind and an open heart. Take a moment to think about the challenges you've faced in your life. In each of those moments, there was something you could be grateful for. Maybe it was the strength you found within yourself to keep going, or the lessons you learned that made you wiser. Perhaps it was the support of someone who helped you through, or the sense of accomplishment you felt when you overcame the challenge. Gratitude allows us to see beyond the struggle and recognize the growth that comes from it. When we embrace gratitude, we create a ripple effect that extends to every area of our lives. It changes the way we view ourselves, our relationships, and the world around us. It shifts our mindset from one of lack to one of abundance, from one of scarcity to one of possibility. And in doing so, we begin to see that we are enough, that we have enough, and that we are worthy of all the good that life has to offer. So, the next time negative self-talk creeps in, challenge it with gratitude. When you feel overwhelmed by doubt or insecurity, pause and reflect on the things you are thankful for. By doing so, you will begin to change the narrative you tell yourself. You will move from a place of deficiency to one of fulfillment, and you will discover that, in the end, the abundance you seek was always within you. It was just waiting to be recognized.